my perspective is seeing, like I said, I was in high school when Wale came out. You know, I was going to go-go's and seeing Wale performing. So I have this whole thing of like, I've seen Wale perform for free maybe 15 to 20 times. So me paying to see Wale now is not like being cheap. It's just like, you know, I came up seeing Wale and I'm very happy for his growth. But, you know, me saying, hey, I'm going to pay to go see Wale, that's kind of weird to me because I've seen him go from like, you know, the local rapper to like a mega star, you know. So in the book, I had to talk about Wale's impact for people nationally and people that weren't in the go-go world, but from the area, for them to understand where he came from. But I also had to talk about how territorial D.C. is. D.C. is a really crazy place. Like, being from D.C. to D.C. people is the greatest thing ever. Being from Maryland to D.C. people is the worst thing ever. So the whole controversy about Wale, is that he was born in D.C., but he grew up in Maryland. So, like, for D.C. people, that's like the worst thing ever. You know, it's like, oh, hell no. You didn't live in D.C. your entire life. I can't go outside and see you on the street you said you grew up on right now. Oh, we're discrediting you. So that's why, along with some of the things that happen behind the scenes, whether it be rumors or not, you know, there's a bitter taste in some people's mouth in the area about Wale. But at the end of the day, there's a great contingency in the area of people that want to see Wale do good and are happy for his success. And I have watched him grow. And I'm one of those people. So the book talks about everybody that you would know, Shy Glizzy, et cetera. You know, and there were people like Michael Beasley, Kevin Durant, et cetera, that I grew up seeing in the go-go when they were just regular people. Quinn Cook, who just won a championship with the Golden State Warriors. Quinn Cook he's close friends with a very popular go-go band called T.O.B. You know, I've seen Quinn Cook in the go-go for years before I even knew he was a basketball player. This is our culture. You know, it was just a thing that you did. You know, if you played football or basketball in high school, when the game was over, you're going to the go-go. You know, I was so close to skipping my prom because it was going to be this big, elaborate go-go, and I was like, man, I can't do that. I got to have these memories. I'm kind of happy I did it, but I ended up going to the go-go late that night, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, so the book is for the people that have ever heard go-go, for the people, especially the people here, it's a great book because it's my perspective on some of the most magical times of my life. For those that don't know, they might have heard the go-go, they might not know what it is. I feel like I give a great description and breakdown of what the culture is, what the music is, and how it affected my life. You know, like I said, I came from New York City. When I first got here, I was like, what the hell is go-go? I couldn't stand it for maybe six months. And then it was just like, it just hit me. And I was like, okay, I love it. And it just changed my life.
Stop fighting. You're like, all right, let me embrace this. But that's what's up. Kind of 1.5 questions. So I'll just throw out Pete's first. He said, what about Virginia and Baltimore? Because I know, like, when you're talking about how Wale's from Maryland but grew up in D.C., it's the same thing like when you say you're from the East Bay. Mm-hmm. Let's say you say, oh, you're from Oakland, but you grew up in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that, like Hunter's Point. It's like you're in the Bay Area, but you weren't where things were actually popping off. So when it comes down to go-go, for my question specifically, I hear R&B, and I hear a lot of artists kind of trying to find a sound, play with the same sound, and I hear like some of the same melodies over and over again. I hear like when I saw one of the go-go videos you posted, it looked like church at one point. It was like church and a concert, and it was so much going on. It was hectic, but it was just like you could feel the energy. Like it felt like one of those old, I don't want to say like old slave energy because it just has a negative connotation, but like I don't know,
I actually get what you're saying. I get exactly what you're saying.
Like an old time, it's rich. Like the energy there feels like it goes back probably like 1,000 years. You know what I mean? So like, how would you say go-go has really influenced that region, the South, and most importantly R&B? Okay,
so let me answer Pete's question first. First, it's exactly like you said in terms of the East Bay. The area is so confrontational. So you got Baltimore, which is in Maryland, but Baltimore is looked at by DC and surrounding areas, which would be DC, PG County, etc., Virginia, as like, like, it's a respect thing because, Baltimore's like, it's a gangster city, but it's like, for 45 minutes away, the slang is different. The fashion is different. Everything is different. They're still doing heroin. It's really different,
Yikes.
But now DC is like, this is the thing about DC. It's the nation's capital. And it's not just the go-go thing, but it's like people are so territorial about DC because of for so many reasons, especially black people. It's like, this is somewhere we came, we migrated here from the South. Now, let me say this, first of all. We don't look at DC area as the South. We look at it as the Middle East. From Philly to Virginia, Northern Virginia, is what I would consider the Middle East. You go like to Norfolk, Hampton, Richmond, all that, etc. I think that's the South.
Yeah,
like they're
Charleston,
completely different.
Yeah, that has a real southern, downtown vibe to it.
So when we talk about DC, Maryland, and Virginia, people that are really like from the streets or from like the inner cities of these areas don't even like to say the term DMV. That's something that's a political thing. That's a entertainment industry thing. That's a collective thing. Like, I'm going out of town somewhere.
Interesting.
I play basketball, I rap or whatever. I will never say that. I kind of like cringe when people say I'm from the DMV. It's not something I don't say, because of the fact that I grew up in a time when it was so confrontational. It's like, like I said, DC people, there are DC people that hate Wale because his mom decided to move and give him a better life and move to Montgomery County, which is like a pretty affluent county, a good mix of all cultures, a lot of Africans, a lot of Ethiopians, Sierra Leone, et cetera, Mexicans, black, white, everything. But it's a great education system. So people want to move and, do better for their children. So Wale happened to move to a pretty affluent area, and when he became a rapper, he's like still trying to rap his DC hood, but it's like, well, people are like, trying to point out, oh, you grew up over here, whatever. So
you went to Cranbrook. That's a private school, yeah, like one of those, like the Papa Doc situation.
So like under DC is PG County. Like PG County is like the epicenter of Maryland. Like, we have such a rich history. Like in my city, Landover, Maryland, is like the city of cities. So it's like you got the greats, you got Sugar Ray Leonard, you got Martin Lawrence, you got Len Bias, you got so many people, and then right next door is Seat Pleasant, you got Kevin Durant. I mean, and then you got the copious amounts of people in the NFL, the NBA, entertainment, etc. You got Taraji P. Henson, who's from the other side of PG, Oxon Hill. Every, Myers from Greenbelt, Delonte West, every little corner of PG has produced somebody that and it's every day somebody new, So it's like we set the tone for Maryland, outside of Baltimore. And then it's like you got Montgomery County, which, like I said, it's, everywhere. The world is a ghetto, so there are lower income areas.
Preach.
But it's a pretty nice county, and then Virginia, Northern Virginia, you have the Pentagon, and then you have, the outlining areas of that. And, you have some pretty bad areas along Richmond Highway, which is like really hood. And then it's like, besides that, it's like, hey, this is a place, it's a Commonwealth. This is a place where I can go raise a family, pretty decent area. I can get some extremely high speeding tickets. A lot of people don't like Virginia for a lot of reasons. The tickets and it being a Commonwealth is like a major reason. And then it's like,
what's a Commonwealth
that we say as,
for people who don't know? Because I know Mike Vick is from Virginia Beach, I think. Yeah,
so it's like the Commonwealth is like, the way I sum it up is like extremely egregious laws. Like, you go, DC, you bust a U-turn illegally. Hey, don't do that again. Virginia, you might do 2 years in jail,
Damn.
So it's like everything is like it's over the top. You know, it's really easy to go to jail in Virginia, as you see with Mike Vick, Allen Iverson, everybody. It's a scary place to live in a sense. But yeah, that's more Southern Virginia. But Northern Virginia, it's a political suburb. You know, it's like it's right outside of DC. You know, so people are like, you know, I'm trying to escape DC, I'm moving to Virginia. So it's like the DC area is like really territorial, really controversial. So it's like everybody's kind of like against each other, but you know, you go somewhere else, it's like, yeah, I'm from this area, you know. But more so, people are so determined to set up their individual area. Like, you know, now we're at the point where I can say I'm from PG County, and somebody in Nebraska might know what the hell that is, you know? So it's like, it doesn't really do anything for the unity, but for the experience that we went through to put ourselves on the map, it's a great thing. So to answer your question, go-go is like, it is about the feeling, you know what I'm saying? So the basis of go-go music started with Chuck Brown, the late Chuck Brown. He was making original music. And he was tying cover songs into original music to get his original music heard. And he was doing, he had a cover band and it was a few other bands, but he was the main one. And what they were doing were to, instead of giving a break between songs, they kept, you know, they had hand signals or whatever to change songs and keep the music going, keep people on the dance floor. And that's where the term go-go came from, just kept going and going and going. So from the 60s to the 80s and 90s, that went from 3 or 4, 10 bands to hundreds, you know? So you got hundreds of bands all trying to carve out their own niche. It's a great thing. You know, DC go-go is really heavily based on instruments. So it's like, you know, you got that kid in the inner city, he might be in Section 8, but he has nothing else in his room but a Casio keyboard. He's great on his keyboard because he wants to be in a go-go band. He wants to provide for his family, you know, and that leads you to other places. I have a friend from Southeast DC, and, you know, pretty bad neighborhood. He started out as a keyboarder in a go-go band, and now he's a keyboarder. He's a keyboarder for Donnell Jones, you know, and Amazing. Genuine, all these people, you know, he's a keyboarder for the Stars. So it's a great thing, you know. If you're musically inclined, you're musically inclined. But this is an area that really appreciates it. The thing about go-go is that it's all about the live sound, you know what I'm saying? So every band is looking to see which song that we can do, cover, or create on our own that's going to get the girls, you know, shaking their behinds and the dudes partying or whatever, not mean mugging, standing on the wall. So that's what go-go is about. It's all about the feeling. So if a band has 30 minutes to perform, they're looking for that one song that's going to get everybody in the place partying, you know? So it's all about feeling. It's all about feeling. You know, we're so, in so many other genres, we're so used to the studio creating the hits, and then it's being brought to the clubs or whatever. And go-go is the complete opposite. It's very rare to have a studio album, you know. So
yeah,
we remember albums and CDs by dates, you know. So, you know, we remember these things by dates, you know, and then that has so much importance. So like, you go to the club, you know, what go-go does is a lot of call and response. So like the early days of hip hop is like, where Brooklyn at, you know, or all my ladies scream, you know, but it's like that, but it's more so like the neighborhoods, you know. So we don't have Bloods and Crips here. We're more so like neighborhoods or groups. So the groups, you know, I mean, essentially you can look at that as gangs, but we're more so a neighborhood-based area. We're like one of the few areas that hasn't been invaded by the mainstream, the known gangs, the Bloods, the Crips, the Power Rangers, the Latin Kings, etc. We're more so neighborhoods. So it's like you might have an Asian, a Mexican, a black dude, a white dude, etc. They're all from the same neighborhood, you know? And, you know, it's not that much division in terms of gangs or groups, you know? So it's like everybody's trying to get their neighborhood shouted out. And then you got somebody, it might be your birthday, you know? So you want to hear your birthday on that CD recording. You want to hear your name or whatever. So it's like, I'm going to remember that date. That was 1/19/2019. So when the CD comes out, I'm going to the store to get that. Or I'm going to have to download that because it means something to me. Or that was when they hit this song and I love this song. Or they covered a Jasmine Sullivan song or whatever. And only go-go can put a twist on it like they do, because it's like, you know, when you hear a cover band cover a song, they're trying to hit it the exact same way, you know?